true fetishes are things like feet, dead bodies, feces, animals, things that are all very infectious. Exactly. Your facial expression illustrates it perfectly.
My facial expression for those listening is yuck.
Exactly. So, you know, that's disgust. And you have circuits in your brain that are for disgust that are about getting you away from that thing because it's infectious, putrid, disgusting, and out of context. And then you think about sex and food appetite and all that, and it's all appetitive, as they call it. It's moving towards it. It's bringing in more of those molecules as opposed to trying to get away from like vomit or something.
Right, but the feet thing, isn't it like guys like pretty feet?
You know, we're very visual animals, and so it may cross over into visual perception, and what arouses people differs, obviously. People have their different proclivities. But true fetishes are a kind of a confusion of this circuitry, right, where people confuse or learn arousal associated with something that's actually quite dangerous. I mean, you take the extreme one like dead body. It's like incredibly.
Is that normal?
No, no.
Excuse me, not normal. Common. Like the dead body one?
Not common. Not common.
Common enough that you brought it up, though.
Well, I've been reading up on this because I'm fascinated by the primitive in addition to the more evolved parts of the brain. So the way Anderson describes it is, you know, you'll see animals mating, and then all of a sudden, you know, he'll bite the back of her neck, or sometimes she'll bite him, and the theory is that some of the neurons, and they've seen this in brain imaging in real time because they can do that in animals, some of the neurons that are responsible for aggression will just suddenly, you know, spike up there, right? And will kind of overtake the other behavior, and then they'll go back to mating.
Now, when you're talking about studies on animals and they're doing this, it's there's these ethical questions. If you're going to do a study on humans, if you wanted to stimulate those same neurons and try to incite aggression or hostility or even arousal. But has anybody done it?
They have.
They have.
They have. So a good friend of mine, Eddie Chang, he's the chair of neurosurgery at UCSF. He spends his life and he makes his living probing around in the brain of people who have epilepsy, looking for the site where if they stimulate, the person will have a seizure so that they can burn that area out or make some other manipulation. And he's told me that he's been poking. You can't poke around at random, right? You can't, you know, every scientist would love to just do that experiment, just go in and kind of search. But there are sites where they'll stimulate, thinking they might evoke a feeling of pleasantness or no feeling at all, and the person will go into a rage in the OR, in the operating room, because they're wide awake. You know, you've probably seen these things of people with neurosurgery and they're playing the violin or things of that sort. Occasionally they'll hit an area where the person will say, I'm feeling super angry right now. And they'll say, let's back off a little bit from there. And they'll chart where they were in the brain.
That is wild. So there's just like a spot.
Yeah, there is. And we have switches, right? I mean, we have switches for rage, switches for all these things. I mean, that's like the psychologist Carl Jung, you know, this idea that we have all things inside of us. I mean, people vary in their propensity for rage or for love or for anything, but at some level, we do have all things inside of us. We have the circuitry within us.
And do you feel like that variation is neurochemical? That there's,
I think it is neurochemical, and I think it is learned as well. This peptide that we were talking about earlier becomes relevant in this context. So David's lab discovered there's a peptide called tachykinin. It's related to another molecule that's involved in pain relief called substance P that we all make. Tachykinin has a bunch of different forms, but in humans, there's tachykinin 1 and tachykinin 2. In mice or humans that are socially isolated,